Do you know, when I work with event producers and we look at the running order and the agenda, and I say, think of it this way. When you get home in the evening and you flop down on the couch with your martini and you turn the TV on and you're flipping through all the channels and you see suddenly on one channel a guy in a suit talking in a monotonous fashion with a very busy slide deck behind him, do you stay on that channel? Of course everybody laughs and goes, well, no. And of course not, because that's not what we want to watch. And yet that's what we put on stages all over the world in the event space. And I argue back because I say, in the end, nobody remembers a statistic. Nobody remembers and then talks about a chart. No one goes home and says, oh my goodness, I saw the most amazing pie chart. They do not. What people like to talk about are the stories. Stories are the most powerful way to get your message across because people can remember a story. And if they remember a story, they're more likely to retell a story. And if they retell a story, then you can go viral. So how is a compelling story created? Well, I'm in San Francisco, and this is a city that tells stories. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's so beautiful, you go home and talk about it. I even heard a rumor that somebody once left their heart here.
San Francisco.
However, and Hollywood will tell you this, every single story worth its salt has 3 parts. 3 is the magic number. A beginning, a middle, and an end. Or as they call it in Hollywood, a setup, a build, and a payoff. That's what creates a story, and we're humans. The minute we know a story's begun, we want to know how it's going to end. The minute we know there's a problem of some sort, we want to know how's it going to be solved. But think about it for a moment. This 3-act structure that Hollywood basically uses for every single movie, this is our lives. Because what do we do for a living? It almost doesn't matter what your answer is. We are problem solvers. A company needs to increase their sales. That's the problem. They bring you in, you increase their sales, the company's happier as a result. Problem solved, end of story. Another great example of the 3-act structure, I need a drink. I get a drink from the fabulous bartender and I get drunk. The perfect payoff, another happy ending. And these are the stories that you should be telling. There's no point in putting up a chart like this or like that, because they're not stories. Instead, talk about the problems that your clients, your customers had. Talk about what happened in terms of how you rolled out a solution. And most importantly, the 3rd act, talk about how much better off those clients' lives are right now because they did what you recommended. And it's not good enough just to gratuitously drop in the name of an amazing client of yours or some achievement you've had. You've got to tell the story. For example, if I said to you, hey, last week I interviewed the former Vice President Joe Biden. That's cool, but it's not cool enough. If instead I said to you, you know, the Vice President Joe Biden shared with me how the personal moments in his life helped to shape the biggest decisions he made, now there's something going on because there's a story there and a name drop. I mean, obviously, but there's a story as well. It compels people to listen. Now, what makes a story even more powerful, even more successful, is when you inject a little surprise, maybe some emotion as well. Wouldn't it be great if somebody had a recipe for the perfect story? Well, boom, I've done it. I know, this is quite a thing. Look, here it is. And by the way, if you're listening to this on a podcast and all you can hear is the audio, I'll take you through it anyway. So the ingredients for a story, number 1, a cup of setup. You've got to set it up. What is the problem? What's the problem that your clients and customers were looking to solve? And here's where you get super clever. It should really match the problems that you know the people in front of you have as well, right? Well, I mean, that's obvious. Next up, a dash of risk. Maybe something could have gone wrong. Maybe they didn't have the budget. Who knows, right? It's the makings of a good story. Next up, half a cup of emotion. And what I mean by this, we're all people. I'm always amazed how many in the corporate world start to forget that they are communicating with humans. They use language and jargon that just nobody uses. It doesn't resonate. When I say emotion, what I mean is use the people factor. How did people feel? Were they excited? Were they worried? Was there anxiety? Was there trepidation? Big word. These are the elements that you need to add into your story because A, it's in my recipe list, and B, it makes it real. Next up, add a twist. A surprise. Who knew? It ended early. Maybe it went a bit late. Somebody else got involved and changed the entire project. It doesn't really matter, but a twist, if you can find one, is a very compelling element to a good story. And all of that gets served before the payoff, and the payoff is the destination. How did it end? How did everybody feel? What was the result? Now, I have covered in other vlogs and podcasts and blogs the idea of social proof and the jealousy effect and herd mentality. But when people understand how others enjoy the benefit and value of what you offer, and you position that within a story, they want some of that action too. That is the recipe for a good story.